Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Living Beyond Limits. I'm Reverend Jennifer Spear. We are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living, and I'm so glad that you've come to share your morning with us. And for those of you who are joining online, welcome to our online service. And so let's begin this by reading our mission statement that's on the front of your bulletin. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's exactly what we are doing here at Living Beyond Limits, is we are giving ourselves the opportunity to move back into that place within us that knows, yes, indeed, we are spiritual beings. Yes, indeed, we are here living this spiritual life, bringing our spirit into this world in a way that is beneficial, in a way that brings greater good into this world. And when we recognize as we walk this path and as we participate in these services that one infinite presence, the life and the love and the peace and the magnificence of spirit lives within us, that is incarnated in our hearts and in our souls, that we are out picturings of that one, then we have a gift to give all of the time. We have a gift, whatever that gift, like Stacy said, of our spirit is to share. And if we are always connected, always an out-picturing of that one, then it means that what is true of spirit is true of us. That what is true of spirit is that spirit is peace. That means peace is within us. If spirit is love, that means that love is within us. If spirit is absolute wholeness, nothing missing, nothing lacking, then there's nothing missing or lacking in us either. So as we walk this path and we recognize the truth of who we are, we come to this world in a more beneficial way. And so I say thank you to each and every one of you for walking this path and saying yes to the call of your own spirit and to be bringing it into this world. Thank you for that. I'm going to start this talk today with a story. It goes like this. It seems a man decided to write a book about churches around the country. He started by flying to San Francisco and started working east from there. He went to a very large church and began taking photographs, etc. He spots a golden telephone on the wall and is intrigued by a sign that read $10,000 a minute. Seeking out the pastor, he asked about the phone and the sign. The pastor answered that this golden phone is, in fact, a direct line to heaven. And if he pays the price, he can talk directly to God. He thanks the pastor and continues on his way. As he continues to visit churches in Seattle, Boise, Minneapolis, Chicago, Milwaukee, New York, Atlanta, and on around the United States, he finds more golden phones with the same sign and the same answer from every pastor. Finally, he arrives at a New Thought church. Upon entering, he sees the same golden telephone on the wall, but this time the sign reads, "Calls, 25 cents." Fascinated, he asks the minister, "Reverend, I have been to cities all across the country and all kinds of churches, and in each church I found a golden telephone and have been told that it is a direct line to heaven and I could talk to God. But in other churches the cost was $10,000 a minute. Your sign reads 25 cents a call. Why?" The minister smiled and replied, "Oh, that's easy to explain. You see, here we know that God is within you. So it's a local call from here." You know, when we remember that the presence of that infinite one is within us, when we remember that, what happens is our fear and our worry and our concern dissipate. When we know that living spirit is within us all of the time, it leads us to feeling more confident and having greater self-assurance. And then we act more proactive in this world than we do if we don't know that. The problem is, as you all know, is we oftentimes get so focused on the things that we have little or no control over in the world. That's what we get focused on rather than the truth that that living presence is within us. And then what happens is we get afraid, and sometimes we even feel helpless. And you know, when there are so many things that are going on in the world right now that are not in alignment with what we want to be happening, that aren't in alignment with our own personal values and with what we think is important in the world, then what happens so often is we feel overwhelmed and we end up feeling depleted. And because we are spiritual beings, we really want to live a life where we are living a life with a sense of purpose. As spiritual beings, we want to be able to shine our light in the world. We want to be able to be an influence for good in the world and to bring good into the world. But sometimes we forget. We do that. We always do that. And we do that via our consciousness and via our actions, our words, our touch. You know what? You might not have a huge influence on Washington, D.C., but you know what? Have you ever had a huge influence on Washington, D.C.? Not really. You don't have a huge influence on what's going on the Gaza Strip or Ukraine or systemic racism, but you do have an influence on all of those things via your prayers and your consciousness, your thoughts, your energy, your faith, because all of that goes out into that collective pool of consciousness of humanity that we are living in. And when your consciousness is of faith and love and peace, what happens is that becomes more readily available and more easily accessible to other people. I know that you know when you're out in the world and things are stressful, you can feel that energy, how stressful it is. Nobody has to tell you. You walk into a room, you feel, even different rooms have different feeling. What it feels like coming in here versus what it feels like when you walk into Costco, it feels different. You know, so you are adding to that collective all the time. And it actually does have an influence on the world. But you know what? You have an even greater influence on the world that you touch. The world that that is closer to you, that you touch either directly or indirectly, that you touch directly or indirectly with your words and your actions and your touch and your consciousness, where it adjoins with something, where it interfaces. That's the world that you have even more of an impact on, the one that you interface with. And so the title of my talk today is Heart Connected. And I'm talking about that when we stay connected to our hearts, and when we stay connected and conscious of the spiritual principles that are important to us, regardless of what's happening in the world, then we make a positive impact. Then we make changes in this world that are positive. Then we act as a healing presence. And so my question to you is, what spiritual principles are important to you? Is it unity and love? Is it equality or inclusion? Is the spiritual principle of beauty important to you, or order? Intelligence or wisdom? Wholeness or power? Truth with a capital T, truth? Oneness? Abundance? Peace? What are those spiritual principles? Which of those are important to you? What are the principles that your spirit call you to remember? that your soul calls you to remember and to live in and to live from? What does your soul call you to embody and then to magnify in the world? You have a little piece of paper in there, and one side of it asks you that, about what spiritual principles are important to you. And I want you just to choose one or two. Love or unity or power or wholeness, equality, inclusion, beauty, wisdom, wholeness, peace. So those spiritual principles that you just chose, those are part of your soul's purpose here on living on this planet, living this human experience. That's part of your purpose, is embodying those principles and magnifying those principles and living from those principles. That's a soul call. And so I invite you just to close your eyes for a moment and to listen to your heart, tune into your heart, and to ask your heart, what is my heart's highest vision for our country, for this world, for this moment in time? What is my heart's highest vision? And just to write that down. You don't need to write a paragraph, that's on the other side of your paper, just a sentence or two. I really believe that we are here on planet Earth to give way to that spiritual presence. That's what we've come here to do, which means giving way to our own spirit, to our own divine nature. And we do that through staying connected to those things, through those principles that are important to you, through staying connected to your heart, from listening to that vision. That's how you give way to that spirit. So there's a story that says, in a forest, a pregnant deer is about to give birth. She finds a remote grass field near a strong flowing river. This seems a safe place. Suddenly, labor pains begin. And at the moment, dark clouds gather around and above, and lightning starts a forest fire. She looks to her left, and she sees a hunter with a bow and an arrow extended, pointing at her. To her right, she spots a hungry mountain lion approaching her. What can a pregnant deer do? She's in labor. What will happen? Will the deer survive? Will she give birth to a fawn? Will the fawn survive? Or will everything be burnt in the forest fire? Will she perish by the hunter's bow and arrow? Will she die a horrible death at the hands of the hungry lion approaching her? She's constrained by the fire on the one side and the strong flowing river on the other, and boxed in by her natural predators. What should she do? What does she do? She focuses on giving birth to a new life, and a sequence of events unfolded. Lightning strikes and blinds the hunter. He releases the arrow, which zips past the deer and strikes the hungry mountain lion. It starts to rain heavily, and the forest fire is slowly doused by the rain. And the deer gives birth to a healthy fawn. In our life, too, there are moments of choice where we are confronted on all sides with negative thoughts and negative possibilities. Some thoughts are so powerful that they overcome us and overwhelm us. Maybe we can learn from the deer. The priority of the deer in that given moment was simply to give birth to a baby. What are you here to give birth to? Regardless of what's going on in the world, regardless of what's going on around you, what are you here to bring into this world? I propose that when there are so many things going on in the world that seem so overwhelming, that what we are being called to do is to bring our focus in a little closer to home. You know, when you look at a map on your phone and it has like the whole state, and you can actually spread it out and it gets smaller and smaller, and pretty soon you're just on your own street or your own city. And that's what I think we're being called to do. Bring your focus and your energy and your attention in a little closer to home right now. Audre Lorde, who is an American writer and professor, said, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service to my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid." When we're connected to that vision and to our purpose, we become less and less afraid of anything else. When we keep our attention on our vision and on those spiritual principles that are important to us, and when we focus on those things, then we don't feel depleted. Then we don't feel overwhelmed. Instead, what happens is we feel filled up. We feel deeply satisfied. We feel like we're living our soul's purpose. Two of my spiritual principles that are of the utmost importance to me are love and oneness. And when I say oneness, I'm talking about oneness with every single person in this world, with everything that is in existence, and of course, oneness with that divine presence, that infinite one. That one that is the very ground of our own beingness. And when I am focused on that, on love, or on the truth of oneness, whether it's through teaching or through counseling or through putting on Sunday services here, what happens is then I feel satisfied. And then I feel like I'm making a difference in the world. So it doesn't matter what your principles are or what your vision is, moving towards that makes you feel like you're on purpose, makes you feel deeply satisfied. If I am anchored in that principle of oneness, what happens then is I feel my innate connection with whoever it is that I'm up against. I feel my connection with the person that I'm standing next to in line at the grocery store and chatting with. I feel my connection with the person that's standing behind the counter, the cashier. I feel my connection with the person that I run into in the parking lot. It's automatic because I'm already focused on oneness and love. And what happens then is I become kinder. I express more generosity. I have more empathy and more patience. And I experience more joy. And not just does it affect me, but of course it affects the person that I'm interacting with. It affects the person who witnesses the interaction. And it affects really whoever those people with interact with the rest of the day, because things have shifted, even if it's only this much. That's how we are contributing all of the time. All that we do and all that we are causes a chain reaction. Hubble, I think is his name, says something about everything that we do strikes a chord that resonates out to eternity. I love that. So when we are connected to our heart, and when we allow our heart to lead the choices that we are making, those choices automatically then are for good. Here's my favorite quote of the day. Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith said, "We don't open our hearts to let God in. We open our hearts to let God out." We open our hearts to let God out. When we are connected to our heart, we are connected to that ultimate essence of life, spirit. And we are connected to our own spirit. Then we live with purpose. Psalm 139 says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle on the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me. Your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall overcome me, and light around me become the night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for the darkness is the same as the light to you." The truth is, the infinite is ever present. And when we open our hearts, and when we allow ourselves to be heart-led, when we allow ourselves to be led by our spirit and by our spiritual values, it's then that we experience the divine within us. It's then that we experience the divine acting through us, and that we experience the divine all around us. And so my invitation to you this week is to stay connected to and conscious of those spiritual principles that are important to you. Stay connected to your heart and let your heart lead you. And know the things that call to you are the things that are yours to do in this world. The things that call to you are the things that enable you to live with purpose, to live with soul purpose. And so I'm closing with a quote by Bob Goff. He says, "There's a difference between whittling and carving. One is just killing time. The other is laden with purpose. Keep carving." So blessings to all of you on this path of remembering who you are and bringing your heart and your spirit into this world in a way that is simply magnificent. Blessings to you. And so I invite you to join me together in consciousness as we turn our attention to the truth that there is indeed an omnipresence of spirit. That one spirit, that one creative force, that one life of the divine, that is none other than the very essence of love. That is none other than the presence of peace. That is none other than the truth of wholeness and power and oneness and unity and good without end. And so today we recognize that we walk in this presence, that we walk with this presence, and that presence lives within us, that we walk in this light and as the light. And so today, tuning into our hearts and to those spiritual principles that are important to us, we are guided and we are led to be a beneficial presence in this world. A beneficial presence in our own lives and in our own experience and with everyone whom we come in contact with. And so today, we give thanks for this heart call. We give thanks for remembering, for awakening, for knowing, and for being the light and the love of the divine, here expressing uniquely as each and every one of us. And so I speak this word also right now about every single person in this world, knowing that there is an awakening happening, an awakening to this one family of humanity, awakening to our connection to each other, regardless of if we know each other or not. Recognizing a new recognition and a new giving way of the love of God. And so today, we put our faith and our trust in that. Recognizing also, speaking this word about every single politician, every single world leader, every single decision maker, knowing that the love of Spirit right now is alive and well and awake inside of them. that there is the truth and the light of the divine that is bright within them, revealing the truth also of this one family of humanity, this oneness of us all with each and everything. And therefore, there's an awakening to the importance and the value of caring for each other, caring for this planet, caring for the whole. Regardless of if this has ever even been noticed before, it is stirring within them right now. And so I claim and know that there is an awakening occurring there also. And so I just allow myself to rest in this faith and in this trust and in this truth. And so I release this prayer into that creative law of the universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself and unfolding the boundless good right now. So in gratitude, I simply say, and so it is. So I do have some invitations for you. A couple that aren't on the bulletin. One is today is the last day to turn in Christmas presents if you have adopted somebody from the shelter. There's a table back there. And today's also the day to turn in your See's Candy fundraising stuff. So if you haven't been here and you'd like to purchase some See's Candy, you're still welcome to do that. This will be the last day, and then we're going to turn that in. So next week, we're going to be having a little holiday party at Chris Braunschweiger and Peggy Toole's house after service. And so we're inviting you to wear something Christmas festive. So, that could be your ugly Christmas sweater, or it could be your fabulous Christmas outfit, whatever you want to do. But do something Christmassy next week. And bring a dish. We're doing heavy appetizers, so bring an appetizer or a finger food to share. On December 22nd, we are having our holiday candle lighting ceremony here, where we are honoring different religious traditions and the light being celebrated within them, and the light being celebrated this time of year. It's a wonderful service to bring friends to, someone who has never been here. People love the service. It's such an honoring time, and it's wonderful. To let you know that the Sunday after Christmas, we are going to be dark. We're taking a day off to stay home and recuperate. On Tuesday morning, December 31st at 4 a.m., we are having our World Peace Meditation service online. This is the correct Zoom link, so take this with you or take a picture of the link so you know where to find it. On the first Saturday in January, which is the 4th, we're going to have a vision board workshop. We're going to hold it at the clubhouse at Sharon Baker and Carol Borwick, and Bruce lives there too. All three of them live there at the clubhouse. It's going to be at noon. We're also going to do a little light lunch, so bring something to share, and we'll eat first, and then I'll get to get all the supplies together, and you can do a vision board. So don't throw your magazines away. Bring some magazines with you. There is a sign-up sheet in the back. If you would like to come, please sign up so I know how much supplies to buy. And you're invited to bring friends to that as well. We have prayer support after service. If you would like to sit with a practitioner, they're happy to pray with you. We have a ministry of prayer box in the back. We'll support you during the week if you fill out a request. We have prayer shawls that you are welcome to take with you if you would like to be wrapped in that energy of prayer or gift that to someone. And to follow us on our social media, Facebook and Meetup and Instagram. And that's it. To repeat after me, good fills my life now. I recognize it. I savor it. I own it. I live it. And so it is.